If the Adeptus Astartes are the Emperor's wrath, and the Imperial Guard his hammer, then his holy navy is his mighty sword. The Imperium of Man holds dominion over 1 million worlds across the expanse of the void. Countless fiefdoms, army regiments, and valuable infrastructure feed the never-satiated hunger of mankind's conquest of the stars and require vast fleets to defend, transport, and administer its resources. For today, we shall elucidate the Emperor's noble armadas, tasked with ferrying his vast armies and armaments to the many war zones of the galaxy. The Holy Navy of Humanity, the Navis Imperialis. Prior to the Age of Strife, humanity burgeoned by virtue of its myriad colonies spread far and wide across the stars. Mankind prospered for millennia, until the promise of abominable intelligence and mechanized plenty sundered the hubristic ideals of our then naive race. Upon ancient Terra, techno-barbarian hordes ravaged its landscape. The bloodshed ended by the master of mankind, as his conquest of the throne world paved the first steps on the path to salvation. The Emperor cast his gaze upon the darkness beyond the light of Terra. Untold billions of souls of humanity's fractured glory eked out existences brought through toil and struggle without the support of a united empire. Allying with the adepts of Mars, the Cult Mechanicum, the master of mankind built an army capable of reconquering the stars, spearheaded by his marvel of genetic ingenuity, the Legiones Astartes. The Great Crusade had begun, and though the Angels of Death had proven exceptional warriors on the surface of Terra during their purge of the Thunder Legion, even these demigods of war required a means to bring the Emperor's wrath to the enemies of the Imperium. Such shepherds would be found in the vast armada Imperialis, formations of Imperial cruisers, each replete with an Imperial army regiment ready to unleash the sons of Terra. Millions of souls within thousands of warships embarked from the throne world, the expeditionary fleet spearheaded by the Emperor's angels. Vast assortments of these early ramshackle voidcraft became obsolete within months of service, cannibalized following the first engagements of the Great Crusade to repair its surviving yet damaged craft. Each design of warship proven in countless battles were modified to sustain further punishment, replicated into deviations and modified patterns as the Armada Imperialis continued to earn prestige. The orbital shipyards of Mars's Ring of Iron repaired and replaced their losses. The Saturnine Dominion liberated from the oppression of Xenos slavers, founding new shipyards such as Voss, Grulgorod, Lorin, and Cipramundi, as the need for warship maintenance and construction grew exponentially. Those proven as naval commanders were entrusted by the will of the Emperor as the first of the rogue traders militant, often comprised of once deposed rulers of independent worlds, now brought into the fold of the Imperium. Gifted warrants of trade in exchange for their fealty, the rogue traders militant scouted the unknown corners of the void, often without support from the expeditionary fleets, and forbidden to ever grace Terra's domain. As the armada of the Emperor burgeoned, so too did his Imperium. Each world wrestled from the clutches of his enemies, returning long-lost technological wonders to the collective artificers and scholars of the Imperium. Unique vessels such as the Phalanx, Mirabilis, Terminus Est, and Nicor bolstered the armada as the STC's study of voidcraft salvaged from battle further supplemented the Mechanicus' understanding. Each legion, with the return of their Primarch, adapted the patterns of vessels used to complement their methods of waging war, their embellishments and Baroque battle honors befitting each of the legion's temperaments. Fleet anchorages laid anchor at strategic points throughout the galaxy in order to resupply and reinforce beleaguered fleets returning from the front lines. Bastions such as Port Moore proved capable of dominating war zones by deploying hundreds of voidcraft in excess of any expeditionary fleet. Their Goliath and Legatus battleships more than capable of silencing any uprising or Xenos reprisal. Thanks to the efforts of the venerated admirals, primarchs, and the master of mankind himself, humanity had conquered the stars once more. Yet little would any realize that their stranglehold of the void was tenuous at best. With the dawn of the 31st millennium, the most cherished son of the Emperor, Horus Lupercal, incited rebellion within the heart of the Imperium and fractured its once united peoples. The Imperialis Auxilia, tied to each traitor Space Marine Legion, defected to the cause of the War Master of Chaos, and in swift order, the Exertus Imperialis turned on itself. Civil war erupted across the stars. Angel fought angel, as the mortals under their charge hurled themselves into the meat grinder of war, and as such, the Armada Imperialis would prove no different. Colonies, fleet anchorages, and expeditionary fleets took up arms in defense and opposition to the Emperor, with rare exceptions seeking to abandon their posts entirely in order to form small, piratical empires. The armies of the War Master fought with unrelenting fury for over a decade, their bloody campaign carving a swathe to the heart of the Imperium until their ill-fated Siege of Terra. Horus Lupercal fell at the hands of his father, yet with the Loyalists victorious over their duplicitous former kinsmen, the need for reforms were paramount. Billions had perished, and the Imperium lay in tatters, yet the duty of the Emperor's navy had never been more dire. Yet under the guidance of the Ultramarines Primarch, Rabute Guilliman, sweeping changes to each and every organization of the Imperium were enacted. Fearful of the possibility of another civil war should any singular being hold too much power, the Legiones Astartes divided their number into smaller chapters of the newly formed Adeptus Astartes. The Imperial Army, likewise, was separated into the Astra Militarum and Imperial Navy, for theirs would now be the responsibility of serving as the Imperium's frontline soldiers, with the Astartes serving as planetary assault forces and special operatives. Though the Exertus Imperialis had earned many glories during the Great Crusade, with the Imperial Navy now untethered from operational command of the Imperial Army, the lack of bureaucratic meddling and direct oversight by the Guard now allowed for more flexible command and operations. The Officio Praefectus' commissars watched for disloyalty within the ranks of the Imperial Guard and Navy, their oaths of fealty to the Emperor unbreakable, and duty to quell heresy unflinching. For 10 millennia, the Emperor's Holy Navy has stood resolute in the face of the enemies of the Imperium, praised by the Ecclesiarchy as an extension of the God Emperor's divine will, guided by the light of the Astronomicon as they venture into the unknown. Each fleet of the Imperial Navy is divided into 5 fleet zones across the Segmente Majoris, each in turn commanded by their respective Lord High Admiral. Each segmentum harbors a gigantic orbital void station known as a Segmentum Fortress, commanded by a Master of the Adeptus Administratum, which acts as a base of operations and as an administrative hub. Responsible for the supervision and clearance of all voidcraft within their respective segmentum, every civilian, military, and shipping route is carefully scrutinized before allowing clearance through their territories. The most senior fleet is the Segmentum Solar, based upon Mars, tasked with guarding the throne world and its nearby sectors. For to be inducted as an officer of this most ancient battle fleet is to be favored by the Emperor himself, and often allows for its Lord High Admiral a seat as a High Lord of Terra. The Fleet Obscurus oversees the Segmentum Fortress of the Forge World of Cipramundi, which roams the galactic north, whilst Fleet Tempestus is based on the mining world of Bacca to the galactic south. Fleet Ultima is based upon the world of Carduniash within the galactic east and benefits from their close alliance with the Empire of Ultramar, whilst Fleet Pacificus defends the Forge World of Hydrafur to the galactic west. Each of the 5 segmentums is further divided into 8 subsectors, which encompasses 8 million cubic light-years in size, each in turn containing multiple subsectors replete with star systems 20 light-years in radius. To best maintain order within these sectors, each segmentum fleet partitions its forces into smaller battle fleets, tasked to safeguard their citizenry. Each named after their respective sector and commanded by a Lord Admiral. The battle fleets of each sector further fractioned into battle groups, patrolling between as few as 2 or many as 8 star systems within each so-called subsector. Due to the many war zones and exterminatus actions enacted over the millennia, several star systems encompass empty space or even forbidden zones. The battle fleets of each sector assigned between 50 to 75 cruisers and battleships to form the bulk of their ranks. Numerous smaller escort starships, transports, messenger craft, patrol vessels, and defense platforms are assigned depending on the needs of each Lord Admiral. Staving off piratical raids, escorting Mechanicus Explorator fleets, and transporting Astra Militarum regiments to distant wars, the Navis Imperialis is a crucial component in any campaign waged by the Imperium. The battle fleets of each sector scouting for signs of impending invasion, as many as 2 cruisers supported by squadrons of escort craft call for reinforcements from their battle fleet should the need arise. Committing entire battle fleets to subsectors only should their plight be extremely dire. Ad hoc examples, such as Battlefleet Armageddon, consisting of 4 battleships, 27 cruisers, and 36 escort squadrons, exemplify the Holy Navy's commitment to combating the enemies of the Imperium. Each battle fleet can vary massively in scale, due to the circumstance of their deployment, with stalwarts such as Battlefleet Gothic earning glory for their deeds made against the myriad threats within the segmentum Obscurus. Other battle fleets within the same system, such as Battlefleet Cadia, Battlefleet Corona, Battlefleet Scarus, and Battlefleet Agrippina, when combined are known as Bastion fleets, and work together to defend the territories in proximity to the Eye of Terror. By virtue of their extremely dangerous posting, which has on more than one occasion required repelling the Black Crusades of Abaddon the Despoiler, the Bastion fleets of Fleet Obscurus are often supported by reserve fleets, drafted from shipyards, housing outdated ship designs to bolster their beleaguered forces. These bespoke vessels, used only reluctantly by the Admiralty, to be posted within such outworn voidcraft is a death sentence for most. To combat the enemies of the Imperium, the Emperor's Holy Navy categorizes its harbingers of war into 3 overarching types. Battleships are the largest of typical designs, equipped with strong void shields and often helmed personally by Lord Admirals. Slow and difficult to maneuver, their lack of speed is more than compensated by their immense firepower and vast crew. The 3 patterns given widespread use are the Emperor, Victory, and Retribution class battleships, though exceptions such as Battlefleet Armageddon also fielded Apocalypse and Oberon class battleships. Housing between 25,000 to 3 million crewmen dependent on their duties, most of these gargantuan spacecraft can be measured as 8 kilometers in length from prow to stern. Outfitted with luxurious staterooms, bedrooms, and offices, for the highest-ranking officers among the crew, their amenities such as handmaidens and even concubines rival the opulence of planetary governors. Though whilst even servicemen and petty officers also benefit from standards of living in excess of most others, the conscripts aboard share flea-infested sleeping pallets and toiletries. Precious beyond measure, the loss of such immense warships is a crippling blow to the Imperial Navy, for in order to construct replacements requires the efforts of an entire Forge World and millions of hours of labor. Grand cruisers are the next largest voidcraft, categorized similarly to battleships, typically of much older designs than their counterparts. Smaller in scale than battleships, these voidcraft are largely retired from active service and are only deployed when necessary. Most commonly seen are the Avenger-class Grand Cruisers, which are usually outfitted with hull plating from damaged battleships. Also of note are Ironclads, which predate all other voidcraft used by the Navis Imperialis. For while their stature resembles that of battleships, their lack of void shielding has made them largely superfluous. Those ironclads which remain in service are outfitted with increased adamantium plating and either recommissioned to carry planet-killing weaponry kept in the reserve lines of battle, or committed to the vanguard of battle lines to ram enemy ships as a last suicidal act of glorious service. Cruisers comprise the majority of the Imperial Navy's fleet, for while they lack the firepower of battleships, their faster speed, more plentiful numbers, and ease of construction more than make up for their shortcomings. Most ubiquitous of their designs are the lunar, Gothic, and dictator patterns, each between 5 to 6 kilometers in length, housing as few as 10,000 and as many as 1 million crewmen. The designs of each cruiser varying slightly depending on the resources and labor used on the world of their construction. It is easy for an untrained eye to mistake two lunar-class cruisers as separate patterns if they were forged on two different forge worlds. Versatile in their ability to be outfitted with varying armaments of their disparate design schemes, it is not uncommon for a standard cruiser to be modified into Mars-class battlecruisers, or even light cruiser variants such as the Dauntless and Endeavour classes. Smallest of all are the escort ships, which despite their size are of paramount import to the function of each battle fleet. Frigate escorts bear more powerful armaments, whilst destroyers are more maneuverable, operating within squadrons of 2 to 6, known as Wolf Packs, protecting their larger capital ships from torpedo and attack crafts. Should the opportunity arise to inflict punishment on damaged enemy cruisers, the escorts can strike fast and retreat before incurring the wrath of their guns. Typically 1.5 kilometers in length, the plentiful masses of Cobra-class destroyers and Firestorm-class frigates punch holes in enemy positions, allowing for their larger craft to carry the day. Progression through the command hierarchy of the Imperial Navy is won through acts of leadership and can only be commissioned by each respective Battlefleet Administratum. The Lord High Admiral of the Navy is the most senior rank of the Navis Imperialis. Often appointed to proven Lord High Admirals of the Segmentum Solar for unimpeachable service protecting the throne world and its domains. Stationed upon Holy Terror, the Lord High Admiral of the Navy champions the interests and needs of his men within the Senatorium Imperialis, rather than the front lines of war. The Lord High Admirals, colloquially known as Battlefleet Commanders, oversee the 5 sectors of Segmente Majoris and thousands of sectors within their purview. Lord Admirals are responsible for the operational command of their respective sector, while Solar Admirals, due to the lack of unrest within the Segmentum Solar, often reinforce their peers at the head of their own independent flotillas. Admirals roam star systems of each sector under the direct order from each Lord Admiral, their Vice Admirals assuming command of the vanguard of light cruisers and destroyers of their senior officers' fleet. Rear Admirals are the youngest of the most prestigious ranks of the Imperial Navy and must prove their capabilities at the rearguard of their fleet, often coordinating mundane tasks such as the refueling of ships, convoy disputes, and repair operations. Commodores, also known as Group Commanders, are the most senior of ship captains and lead bespoke squadrons of ships into battle, whilst Lord Captains, also known as Flag Captains, work as intermediaries between the captains and their Commodore. Captains helm each and every cruiser of the fleet, entrusted with the survival of their crews and duty to fight as one of the many swords of the Emperor. Commanders rally each squadron of escort vessels, known as the Wolf Packs, and on rarer occasions can be assigned to command orbital stations or even act as wing commanders of a carrier ship attack craft. Lieutenants are the most junior commissioned officers of the Imperial Navy, typically assigned to second in command to escort vehicles until they have proven themselves worthy of promotion, whilst the title of Officer of the Watch often rotates throughout the senior ranks to draft rosters of watches and test the capabilities of the command staff. Tech Priests Majoris are representatives of the Mechanicus of Mars and work alongside their captain and senior officers to appease the machine spirits of their vessel. The Principal Navigator charts the course for their respective voidcraft, whilst the Chief Astropath ensures the ship's astropathic choir maintains communications with the wider fleet. The Master of Ordnance manages the torpedo and attack craft stores making sure that sufficient fuel reserves are available, whilst the Master of Arms ensures all weaponry from the mightiest macro cannon to the lowliest lasgun is properly maintained. Fleet commissars work closely with the Master of Arms in order to make sure the crew are kept battle ready at a moment's notice, and has the authority to declare even the ship's captain unfit for service should they find their resolve lacking. Ship surgeons, or sawbones, administer the medical needs of the crew, while ship confessors maintain their spiritual health and well-being. Midshipmen can be best described as students of the officer class, observing their duties and deriving their name from the situation of their quarters within the ship's midsection. Warrant officers, or petty officers, are the equivalent of sergeants within the Navis Imperialis, and disseminate orders throughout the lowest ranks of each ship, dispensing punishments to the more unruly members of the crew. Shipmasters are among the most senior ranks of the warrant officers, often tasked with maintaining the ship's logs and supplies, whilst the highest ranking warrant officer, the Master Gunner, maintains the performance of the ship's weaponry and oversees their ammunition stores. Gun captains lead each gun crew aboard every Voidcraft, respected by their men not as officers but as proven leaders forged from toil in the lower decks of the ship. Sergeants at arms lead the armsmen aboard each vessel during boarding actions or defense of their holdings. Their responsibility to drill and maintain the weapon lockers of each warship, requiring that they are often drafted from worlds separate from the crews they command. Boatswains, or boatswains, are the taskmasters of the Navy, and ensure that the lowliest of crewmen fulfill their duties adequately or suffer punishment. The most common ranks are known as ratings, and undertake the most menial tasks of the ship, such as hauling equipment, conducting maintenance, or clearing the debris caused by naval engagements. Largely comprised of volunteers, the pay and housing of each rating is substantially better when compared with contemporary hive dwellers or imperial citizens, and as such, many are glad for the shelter that their Voidcraft provides. First among the ratings are armsmen, those trusted among the crew to carry weapons in their ship's defense, and rewarded with largely free movement around the many decks of their warship. Voidsmen, or shipmen, are enlisted men tasked with the maintenance and menial jobs of the Navy, trained with valuable skills in order to keep their Voidcraft in top condition. Last are the indentured workers, unfortunate souls drafted from penal colonies and ordered to conduct the most grueling of hard labor, their lifespans measured in as few as months due to malnutrition, accidents, and punitive actions. Outfitted with void shields, constructed of gravitic barriers, and carefully harnessing electrical energy, only the mightiest of weapons can pierce such force fields and armor of both the Imperial Navy vessels and those used by their fell enemies. Utilizing fusion-based plasma drives deep within their hulls, each and every starship propels through space at the cost of as much as a third of its mass, housing such powerful engines. Should such propulsion systems be ruptured, warp rifts can form within the heart of such Voidcraft, and have on more than one occasion been used as improvised explosives in order to destroy relentless foes such as the Tyranids of High Fleet Behemoth. Capable of destroying entire planets with their most devastating arsenals, even the Angels of Death must respect the power of the Navis Imperialis should they hope to achieve victory across their many campaigns. The largest battleships and heavy cruisers capable of housing as many as 2,000 fighter craft, bombers, and dropships, both in orbit and on land, the Emperor's Holy Navy can unleash immense devastation. Among the most common sights of void warfare are the Fury Interceptors, free-man starfighters crewed by a pilot, gunner, and navigator, occasionally supported by an astropath psyker during deployment. Deployed in numbers ranging from 1,000 to 2,000 per attack craft carrier, smaller Starhawk bombers often coincide with their number to deliver payloads of plasma bombs against enemy capital ships. Atmospheric aircraft of the Aeronautica Imperialis support ground forces of the Imperial Guard and even Adeptus Astartes when needed, often in the form of Lightning Strike fighters or Thunderbolt heavy fighters. Valkyrie transports, supported by Vulture gunships, extract and deploy elite soldiers to the front lines, and have proven effective when working alongside the Elysian Drop Trooper regiments. Fielding their elite armsmen aboard pinnaces, unarmed spacecraft used for boarding actions and espionage missions, the ceramite-clad elite security of the Navy carry autoguns into battle, and are said to be matched only by the elite Tempestus Scions of the Imperial Guard. The hulls of the most powerful battleships, equipped with disruption macro cannons, Hecutor pattern plasma batteries, and Styges pattern bombardment cannons, whether in orbit of planetary war zones or engaging in void warfare, the immense guns of the Navis Imperialis can sunder entire populations in seconds should their aim strike true. Godsbane, Mezoa, and Voidsunder lances tear through the hulls of enemy vessels, whilst the las burners of smaller craft harry targets already reeling from their larger variants. Melta, Plasma, Virus, and Vortex torpedoes spread carnage upon those requiring any and all means to be destroyed, whilst boarding torpedoes allow for boarding actions to be taken against opposition bearing resources and artifacts worthy of retrieving. The Nova Cannon, among the most powerful weapons of the Navy's arsenal despite its inaccuracy and instability. Should their power ever be required, a single blast can destroy entire fleets of warships, if used properly. For while the Angels of Death are reputed for their gloried campaigns across the stars, purging the filth of the galaxy with blade and bolter, no weapon of war, not even of the Titan legions, can compare to the sheer destructive force of the Emperor's Holy Navy. You are expected at all times and in all situations to conduct yourself in a manner appropriate to and mindful of the great duties and traditions of the Emperor's most glorious and honorable Navy. This has been a tale of the Great Imperium of Man, read by the Remembrancer. The galaxy is beset on all sides by terrible foes, and it is the burden of many branches of the Imperium to stem the tide. Responsible for the resupply, reinforcement, and transportation of every conceivable need of the Imperium's war effort, there are none burdened with the same responsibility as the Imperial Navy. Should you find yourself overwhelmed, know that with the passage of time, your duties and responsibilities will ebb and flow. Value the time you have to rest and recuperate, for you shall never know when the next tide rises. And should you be ready to face it, alike to the Navis Imperialis, you shall endure the storm.